Boeing CEO Dennis Muilenburg joining CNBC to discuss the future of the 737 MAX and getting the aircraft back in the air.
I frankly don't think this is a PR process or an advertising process. This is about safe travel. And we're investing in making the MAX as safe as possible. I think the improvements we're making on software, the improvements on training and education, the improvements that we're making around how we communicate, that's what's going to matter. And as we get the airplane back up and flying safely, that will rebuild customer confidence.
Let's talk more about the message from Boeing CEO joining us now, Eric Dezenhall, CEO of Dezenhall Resources. Did he already pay you or something, Eric? Are you a client, or is he a client? That's exactly what you said he should be doing, right? What he just said.
If he were, I wouldn't be able to come on our show and talk about it. But look, I think he did as well as you can do in these situations. I mean, what happens when you get a CEO ready for a CNBC interview is you go to a big box PR firm. They train you to be boring, and that's the point. That's why you hear the buzz.
What happened to all of them?
You hear the buzzwords.
No, but Eric,
safety is our number one priority.
Eric,
we're committed.
You said this is not in the notes. You said this is not a PR issue.
Right? No, he's absolutely right.
Although it's hard because everything's PR nowadays with social media and everything else. But you say
not first.
The most important thing: fix the problem. The focus needs to be on engineering. When the plane gets back in the air with no incidents, there's the solution to the crisis. All this PR, one apology is why do 300 apologies? Or
well, yeah, I mean, I think that the difference is this. Look at this as emergency room triage. When you have a patient wheeled into the emergency room, nothing matters until the heart is beating again, and the heart here is engineering. And I think that there is a tendency when something is also a PR problem to overanalyze the CEO's interview, to say they need to be doing more advertising. 100% of apologies are declared to have been mismanaged. Somebody always says they weren't contrite enough.
I have someone sitting right next to me that says that. Andrew, will you tell Eric how... Andrew was totally watching the guy. He's a robot. He doesn't have any empathy. He hasn't called all 338 families. He's totally screwed this up right from the start. Right, Andrew, basically?
My feeling has been that the CBS interview, even more so than yesterday's interview, was not as human as you need it to be, and maybe goes to the point that Eric's trying to make, which is that the point is for them not to be human, but that makes no sense to me.
Well, no, I didn't say no, don't be human. But I think that there's a tendency to expect an apology or a TV interview to be so spectacularly compelling that everybody forgets about the crisis. Remember, you're dealing with an engineer. You're not dealing with George Clooney or somebody who is trained, or Bill Clinton even, somebody who is very much gifted in that area. I mean, in my business, we are given the client we are given. And if that client is an engineer, you help them do the best that they can do within their capacity. And no, do I think that he is a warm, touchy-feely guy? No, but I would have never expected that going in. The next best thing when you're dealing with an exciting crisis is to make it unexciting. And the way to do that is to be somewhat boring, which is why you hear the buzzwords, safety is our number one priority, as if somebody out there is going, is it? Is it maybe their number 4 priority? Transparency, safety is our number 1 priority. I mean, all of these things get repeated, which is what they're trained to do, even if it does not erase the crisis.
And you think that this approach is going to stand the test of time? Because my point was, I don't. It's all PR now. I don't.
Well,
with
look,
as quickly
eventually,
as things spread I mean, it's trending on Twitter. He wasn't nice. He didn't cry.
But that's not controllable. Twitter is not controllable. And the fundamental swindle of my business is if you hire me, I am so clever that I'll be able to erase Twitter. That's the big lie. That can't happen. And I think eventually where we're going is more and more CEOs of extremely high-profile companies will be more in the vein of marketers, more people who are trained with somewhat acting skills. I'm seeing this all of the time. But the thing is when you become the CEO of a big company, you don't know what your crisis is going to be or if you're going to have one. So what happens is you have an engineer who is thrust into a position where suddenly he has to have acting skills.
Ultimately, I think we're missing, there's like a forest from the trees thing here. There's a believability factor.
Yes,
that you just don't believe. It doesn't matter whether they're an engineer or there's something else. The whole thing, you don't trust them because they're operating like robots, and I don't think that's because they're an engineer.
I think a lot of it has to do with what the provenance of your training is. I just think, Andrew, your expectations of what a CEO's capability can do is different from what my 35 years tells me.
I think if you're running a company with thousands of people, there has to be some level of humanity, and you have to have some level of genuine trust that the other person on the other side of the camera, in this case you, or if it was Dennis Muhlenberg or whoever it's going to be, is actually telling you the truth and not just reading you lines.
I agree, but we're dealing with imperfect situations where you can't suddenly, when you have a crisis, replace the engineer with somebody with Obama or Reagan skills in 30 seconds and get them up to speed.
This is all counter, though, because what really matters is what happened. And there are still continuing investigations.
That's right.
There's still going to have to be something that is answered. And it doesn't matter what you teach them or don't teach them to do.
That's exactly right.
We're coming down. This is English class versus math and science. We're going to find out what happened. And then there are going to be investigations. And then there will be additional investigations to uncover who's to blame.
And when it's fixed and the planes are safely in the air, the problem goes away. That is 1, 2, 3, the alpha and omega. That is everything, not how somebody held their head in an interview.